My name's Nina Healy. I have Live in Colour Florist in Rotorua, New Zealand, a beautiful Bay of Plenty city, and we're here today in a place called Plenty Flora, which is a Gerber grower just outside of Rotorua. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, we all love Gerberas and we love working with them, and often when they arrive to you, they will either come direct from the grower, which I'm lucky enough to have, and it's all just already in a bucket of water. Sometimes it comes already boxed, but they always have the little sleeves on them. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how to cut and condition them, and then we're going to go through some designs with them. Now, always the sleeves need to be removed gently, or else occasionally the petals can be turned backwards, which will really damage them, and obviously we don't want to do that. Now, the Gerber flower has quite a soft stem, so if you use scissors on them, it actually crushes the stem and they're not able to drink properly. So you absolutely must use a blade, whether it's a knife, or can I introduce to you a fantastic new design that's just come out of Holland. You just slip the stem into the wee gap and angle the blade and slice a beautiful long slice. So it allows a really good area for the Gerber to actually drink through, and so it's very easy just to do them. And I have been told on good authority that you can actually use this for over 1,000 Gerberas before the blade loses its edge, which you have to admit that's very, very cost effective for anything. This particular little blade is available from Plenty Flora here in Rotorua. He is importing the actual kits with lots of these, so florists can either have them to use in their studios, or they can actually retail them out to customers so that people can get to use them, because they're very, very safe. Because the blade is on that side, it's really good for anybody, even if people aren't experienced using blades, so that they're able to really look after their flowers. And Harold has assured me that you can use them on roses as well, which is a very, very woody stem. Now, with such a striking Gerber with such a beautiful colouring on it, I think you need a design that's really, really simple to actually show off the bloom itself. Now, with this piece, I've got a clear glass vase, and I've filled the top of it with a little bit of Muehlenbeckia vine. Now, if you haven't got that available, a little bit like stripped willow or a type of vine or anything like that that you could use. Now, I've purposefully only put a shallow amount of water in. One reason is that if it's up high on the vine starts reacting with the water and makes it look quite murky. And also, Gerberas don't need a huge depth of water for them to survive really nicely. Now, since these Gerberas are so fresh and so stunning, I haven't needed to actually wire them. And it's just a lovely little rectangle vase. And with the vine inside the actual container, it means that it's supporting them, stops them from moving, and just gives them a gorgeous edge. Just have to weave your way through. Now, the slight little bit of noise that you can hear in the background, the whole glass house is set up automatically So it's cooled, warmed, watered, everything during the day so that the work can keep on being done without having to just forever be here to open windows and close shutters and things like that. Now, such a simple little design can easily be made using just a few of the miniature gerbera. Just have to make sure the aspidistra is touching water. With this particular design, I've got just a very simple square ceramic container, and then I've jazzed it up just a tiny bit with a little bit of cinnamon and ribbon. And what I wanted to do was introduce the colours that the flowers are so that it all matches together and looks really good, because the design itself is very simple, so you want everything else to look really matching. Now this colour together, the cerise pink and the orange, is really striking because it's just so rich. But if somebody needs a cheering up, this is the perfect thing. You know, if you're feeling a little bit down, or an occasion happens that people are needing a little bit of uplifting, this is the perfect design. I actually have this particular design on my website. Pretty much now the florist industry is changing so rapidly. I have global customers and they use me regularly, so you've got to keep on changing what you have on your website so that people have new options. So this is one of the pieces that's just gone on the website, and it looks really simple, but it's something that's already been chosen, so it makes you think, okay, that was a good choice to do that. Now I already have my top seller and things that you think, okay, that needs changing, colour schemes that work better. Now I also try and do it that the back row is ever so slightly higher than the front row, so you can actually see them all at once, but it doesn't appear to be that way when you first look at it. We've obviously got some lovely little birds that have decided it's a beautiful day and they want to sit right up there and listen to us. That's okay, they're just asking what we're doing.
They're singing your praises, Nina.
Now I always like to have something just a little bit special at the front, and I've got these delightful little orchids came into the shop, so I thought how beautiful to finish this design off. Now this is something you could do with moss in the bottom. You could put ivy berry, you could put hydrangea. It would really depend on the season and what you were wanting to actually achieve. You could highlight it even higher. Now this particular design you could also do using different types of flower. But the simplicity of the gerbera and the happiness of the shape is just gorgeous. And this particular colour combination just gives you absolute wonderful highlight. It's a lovely simple design. Now this particular piece, I've got a lovely little glass bowl and I've put leaves around inside the bowl, oasis through the middle, and then a little grouping of bamboo. Then I put a little bit of ivy just up next to it, just to jam it because they're a little bit movable. Not quite perfection. Now always a nice base of foliage gives you a framework to start, and make sure you have a lovely edging to your work. Now obviously you could use any types of foliages that you have available. While I was preparing for all this, I cut the jasmine vine that I'll be using today, and the ivy and Muehlenbeckia, and I had a little audience of my two little cats lying on the path watching me going, what are you doing? And jumping through all the leaves, I was stripping off things. Now I've got an aspidistra leaf, and sometimes they have a little mark on them. Don't throw them away, just roll the leaf up. One staple on each side of the main vein. And you can just trim back the leaf so you've got a shorter piece, and in it goes. You can also let them dry, so you can use them in dried arrangements at a later stage. I think all florists are like Wombles. We daren't throw anything out, so you just never know when you might be able to use it again.
Can you sing the Womble song first?
No, I cannot. I think it shows my age too that I even know what it is. The Wombles of Wimbledon Common. And Wimbledon Common is actually enormous, because I lived in London for a long time and used to drive past it, and I was like, wow, I could see that the Wombles could really live here. Nobody would ever see them. A bit of silence. At least you know we really are in a working glasshouse. Now with this design, I do it like it's a little garden and do groupings and little areas of rest. Line. A lot of designs end up growing from how the actual flower grows. It's not a toilet being flushed, it's the water system. Truly. When you see that the flower already has beautiful line to it, there's no point chopping it up and wasting it. Use it. Have 2 rows of succulents all the way up the driveway and then a big section in front of the letterbox that get regularly trimmed. But while I've been busy with other projects lately, the Muhlenbeck has been allowed to just go mad, and I had no idea how invasive it could be. Every time I visit anyone, if they have succulents, I borrow a couple, and the whole garden has been established that way. And I also, in between the succulents, grow my capsicums and chilies as they get the heat from the sun all day, as well as the heat from the actual building, so that it helps them ripen better. So we've had a wonderful crop of capsicums and chilies this summer, which is good. So at the moment we're in the process of moving our shop, which is kind of daunting. Like, it's only not quite 5 years since I started Living Colour, so you think, oh yes, I remember everything you have to do, but just every day there's something else that has to be done, and obviously I need to keep one premises open and then change over straight away to the other one with no glitch in between. And the hardest thing has been organising the telephones to change over. Sorry, I just need to move it round so I can check what I'm doing on this side. Now normally for a demonstration I would have all the foliaging already done, but I actually wanted to start it right from scratch so you could see the whole process. These Gerberas are just stunning, and I just recently have really made me realise that where I am, I don't know why, but I sell more yellow flowers than anything else. Now whether they're in bouquets or just on their own, if there's yellow in it, it sells.
Bright and cheerful to cheer someone up, maybe.
It could be. We often, if you ask people if they'd like something bright or something soft and pastel, 90% of the time they go for something bright. And whether it's sympathy, birthday, thank you, anything, they normally will always go for something bright. And just every now and again it needs that shot of yellow. Then just the tiniest little bit of moss in underneath. Now quite often I will do something just to sit in the window that's not necessarily specifically for sale. It may sell, but I like to have something just so people will stop and talk. And I don't mind if it doesn't sell, it's there to stop the people. So whether it's a lovely coffee table sitting in the centre of the window with a piece like this on it, it just gives you that edge sometimes. Now with this piece, I have to do a little bit of explaining before we start. Recently I had my niece's wedding, and there were some of the tables for the function were long, narrow tables with very, very little space. So I started looking through all the books, magazines and things like that to get inspiration to help me to do something that was long and narrow. I have quite a few of the Life Free books, and I was looking at the one table arrangements, and there was a wonderful design in there done by Thomas de Bruin where he's used a piece of cardboard, covered it with bark, and then done it into this shape. Now we could obviously recycle the cardboard and put the wires on it, and I tried using it with aspidistra leaves, cinnamon, ribbons, all sorts of things, and was getting very frustrated. It wasn't giving me the look I wanted. So my husband Ross came up with, well, why don't we use a little bit of signboard that's easily bendable, because I for some reason wanted to use this paper, and we could bend it into the shape and then double side tape on the paper without losing the shape of the paper or trying to stretch the paper or anything like that. So that's what we did. It's actually signboard just gently bent into the shape, and then I've put the paper onto it. Now we have not a lot of trouble, but glass test tubes are a little bit difficult for us to get here, and we don't get the ones with the top edge on them, so then it's difficult to do this sort of design. So we get all our anthuriums and quite a few other things come in plastic test tubes, and I'm very much into recycling, so I keep them all, and I just got uniform test tubes, cleaned them all out and attached them with a little bit of copper wire, and then the Muhlenbeck here has just been gently attached to the top. So you can get inspiration from any books, magazines, Facebook, whatever gives it to you, and then grow the idea to what you have available and what you can use. So now we'll start. So now these little flowers have been to several different cities and back again in New Zealand, and then in my shop window for 10 days. Aren't anthuriums wonderful that they last so long? And obviously we want to use beautiful red miniature gerbera and gorgeous ivy berry. Now the miniature gerbera, there were some of them that we just took out yesterday that have been in these test tubes that same length of time, so they weren't dead even then. So having them cut off short, they last absolutely brilliantly. So if you had a function with just a huge number of tables, you could actually do these up several days before, and because of the lowness of this particular design, There were 4 of these fitted into each of the flower boxes with the lid shut down, and then you could stack another box on top. Ever practical, you've got to be able to transport things. I had actually promised my nieces that I would do their wedding flowers for them when they were tiny little girls. Promises like that always come and bite you. Because I then got told there were 5 bridesmaids. But the day went by really well, and it was gorgeous. To get this ivy berry, I had to fight all the wasps and bees in our garden to get it off the vine. I have something that I call a feral garden, very free range, but it means that I have plenty of muhlenbeckia growing up things, and ivy berry and jasmine, which some people see here in New Zealand as a weed because it just grows so well. But especially in winter time, it means I've always got foliage available for the shop.
Nina, the Gerberas will get bigger as they open out after they've been in the plastic, won't they?
They do. They start off quite small and they do keep on opening further. But obviously the miniature Gerberas aren't as large, so they never grow quite as much. But they're just so versatile. I mean, you will notice today that mainly I am using the miniature ones, and that's just a personal preference of mine. Now with the test tubes, you only have to top them up every couple of days. It's surprising how little they actually drink, which is really great. And the tiny touch of bear grass just connects the design together.
Where do you get signboard from?
You can get offcuts of signboard from a sign writer, because as they're doing different sizes and shapes for their clients, they will always have lots of offcuts. So you'll be able to pick that up quite easily. But obviously you can use cardboard, which was originally what I wanted to use, because I recycled just about everything out of the shop. So I thought, right, I can cut up the cardboard boxes, put the wires along it to strengthen it, and do it. But I just couldn't get the paper to sit the way I wanted to suit the designs for this particular wedding. So there we are, just a couple of strands of bear grass, and that richness of the green just really lifts the red of the gerbera. Okay, now I've decided to make you a lovely little wedding bouquet. Often people come in and they want something really simple and they want to have Gerberas. So instead of just doing the Gerberas, I've decided to do it into a frame and just make it still really, really simple, but actually because you've done something like this, you've got the added value and you can charge a lot more. That's the name of the game. Now what I did was do a circle with wires and taped it. Then I went out in the garden and cut a huge amount of jasmine vine, stripped all the leaves off and then just gently wound it round, then did a framework across using wires and then just a tiny bit in the inside just to cover it up. It's not there to be seen, it's there to stop the Gerberas from falling straight through, funnily enough. This pink Gerbera is absolutely beautiful. When brides come in and want to have Gerbera bouquets, I automatically steer them to the miniature Gerbera. Their petals will interlock much better than the larger ones, and you don't get the, because the petals are shorter, they don't push each other out of the way, they just sit beautifully together. And then if you've got flower girls or anything like that, it's very easy to do a smaller version of using the miniatures, and they're good for buttonholes. So they're fantastic for the guys. This colour is such a lovely clear pale pink, which gives a beautiful, beautiful look. And obviously the Gerberas come in such a huge variety of colours, you've really got an enormous scope of finding something to either contrast with the fabrics that they're wearing or complement. And if you work in with your growers, they'll be able to suggest which ones are going to suit better in which situations. I'm going to do this bouquet all the way to the handle, because often when you see them done in demonstrations, it's just tied off and said, and then you handle it. I'm actually going to do the whole thing for you today. I love doing wedding work. It's one of my absolute favourite things to do. I normally don't get stressed. I enjoy them, except when it's family. You're put under so much pressure when it's that occasion. Now I always think that the flowers for a wedding are one of the most important things, because at the end of the day goes by so quickly, nobody hardly remembers it, it just goes by like a flash, but the photographs of what they have is an enduring memory of the day, and if the flowers are done really well, then that absolutely makes the day. Now that's just the beginning. You should see how quick it is to tie a hand tied. It's all the rest of it that takes all the time. For a little flower girl, I would use 7, and especially if you've got 2 colours, it contrasts really, really well together. One really good thing with Gerberas is you can get little silly things to go on the centres of them, like butterflies and ladybugs and all that sort of thing. And they actually can be threaded straight through the middle really easily and they might not be your thing, but it's an add-on. And sometimes if somebody's sick in hospital or something like that, something just a little bit silly like that can just make all the difference to cheer them up. Now just a little bit of beading over the top can make it just look really beautiful, except if the beads are hooked up in willow. You might just cut it off. Now the other day when I was doing a bridal bouquet and I was trying to work out how to get it all to sit nicely without actually having to put a whole lot more wires on it, and the beads are already hollow, so I've just pinned it into the gerbera. So every so many gerberas I just pin it in. You don't need a huge amount. I wonder if the birds will come back seeing us in the glass house. I think birds are naturally nosy and they want to know what you're doing. And I had a garden in London. Every time I was in the garden gardening, I used to have a little tiny robin used to come and sit next to me, just out of reach, but it would be there every single time I was in the garden. That was so cute. And the pet hedgehog. Now I've already pre-wired the ivy leaves, the back of the leaf, and then taped it, and it's just so that I have a little bit more control over them. And I've done, I think, 10. The reason for that is I do 5 or 6 up, because all the gerberas have all had wires in them and the frame has a wire. So then that covers up all the wires, and then I do a second layer right down at the tying point, which covers up the whole area. Whenever I do demonstrations, I always say, now, because I'm doing this so quick, workmanship does suffer slightly, but now that I've promised to do this the whole way for you, I'm going to have to do it properly. Yeah, promises. But workmanship is important. You've got to be consistent on what you're giving out to people. You can't one day do something absolutely brilliant and then the next day can't be bothered. It just doesn't work that way. Now I naturally tape the stems, and if I'm going to be making it the night before, I would just make the bouquet and stand it, and then in the morning go in extra early to back it all off, but I will still stand it in a much shallower amount of water right up until the time the flowers are collected, so that they're going to be as fresh as possible for the bridal group for the day. I mean, some flowers you're fine with, and others I sit at home going, ooh, the wedding's about now, hopefully they held up. Especially when it's really hot weather.
How many Gerberas did you use?
There's 15 miniature Gerberas, and I'd made the frame at home, so I was guessing the volume size-wise, but I think I actually got it pretty much right on. Tape's not wanting to stick today. Now, sometimes just for something different, I'll actually put a little bit of bear grass around the length of the stem, and it just adds a different dimension. If people are wanting the length on the bouquet, and I would normally only do this for the bride because it just takes that extra little bit of time. And I always think that the bride's bouquet should be the main focal of the event, and that the bridesmaids are essentially an accessory. So their flowers should be a lot simpler, because I don't think anyone should ever take away from the bride. It's her day. This is Oasis tape, which I find very handy for this particular, just to hold it into place so that you can then tape it. At certain times of the year, the bear grass is much, much cuttier than other times of year, and this happens to be the cutty time of year, but that's all right. And then I would trim any of the bear grass that's up too high. And retape it.
And why do you do it again, Nina?
If you start putting ribbon over top of bear grass when it's dirty and cutty, and you get an uneven finish, so this way you can tidy it all up and make it much softer to work the... I often work with organza ribbon, which is very thin, so you really need to have done another layer underneath just to tidy it all up. And as you're going down, it actually pulls the whole design in. and I only ever do as far as the hand needs to go. I don't do much further. Now with this one I have actually left the length of the Gerberas quite long and underneath, and that would enable it that if you're actually making this the day before, you can still stand it in water and then clip those off as you're ready to go out the door with it. Now sometimes people do a lot of pearls along the handle and things like that. Sometimes I will do the pearl headed pins up the handle, but I don't tend to wrap the handle with a lot of pearls because then it leaves a lumpy finish for somebody to be holding on to. And the bride does hold on to the bouquet for quite a few hours with the ceremony as well as photographs and things like that, so you don't want to make it uncomfortable for them. You don't want them to be wanting to put it down, because really you do want your flowers in the photographs, because you want, essentially it's a piece of advertising for you, because people will always ask where they got their flowers done. The wildlife is free. But I will often just put 2 little pearl-headed pins just at the point where you've tied it, in case at any stage during the day it somehow loosens off. This ensures that it cannot go anywhere, it's stuck. Typical. It's one tiny bit out of line. And then at the very last, if you wanted to, you could bring just the tiniest amount of the vine across the design, just to bring in the vine frame again. Why not? Gilding the lily. I always tell the brides how to carry the bouquets so that they will get the most effect in photographs, but sometimes it's really hard to get bridesmaids to, when there's more than one of them, there's always one carrying them the wrong way, the wrong angle, the wrong length, but I have a surefire way of getting them to all do as they're told, and I'll share it with you now. If you carry your bouquet like this, it makes you look 10 pounds heavier through here. If you relax your arm down, it makes you look taller and slimmer.
It works every time.
Works every time. Vanity, isn't it a wonderful thing? So that's just a little wedding bouquet, done very simply. And now with the ivy wired, you can then move it into position of exactly where you want it to sit. so that the rich green with the beautiful pale pink just absolutely shows it off. It's a half wire, pop it into the head and hold my 2 fingers on it and then spin the stem and then turn it back up on itself. Now a gerbera grows spiraled, so if you don't spiral it onto it, it will in fact grow out of it. Some things when you're doing it so much become automatic and you can't, but you can see the wires. Now not all of them you need to actually wire, and a lot of them I don't, but this piece is only gerbera done as a hand tied with no support. So then I think you should always, because heaven forbid that one collapsed and there's your design out the window. So it just gives that little bit of support, and then I know that they're all going to be heading in the same direction while I'm making it. And that's the only reason I'm doing it. A security blanket. Now the other thing I'll do with this design is actually cut them all off to the same length before I begin. The wire is about a 22 grade wire. Now, this particular piece is something I saw a photograph on Facebook and thought, ooh, how did they do that? So I'm not sure if this is the correct method, but I decided I wanted to have a go. And obviously what was used in the photograph I haven't got available to me, so I looked at what I had available and thought, okay, you probably need to do that or support it with that. So with this is a beautiful satin ribbon. I've cut 2 strips of the ribbon, put double-sided tape, and then put a wire straight up the inside and pressed a second one on top. With the Muhlenbecker, I have a wire taped and then the Muhlenbecker around it with a simple little amount of copper wire to hold it in place. And then I've got the aluminium copper wire. And I'm going to do some weaving. So I probably need to space it out. Now I'm sure if I had a narrower bench and had really long arms, I would actually sit it right off the edge of the bench, but I'm hoping once it's done it won't be. No flowers were harmed in the making of this piece. So I'm just threading the ribbon in and out through the gerbera. Oops. Like you're weaving a piece of something. Weaving a piece of something. I hate it when you're done and you look and you think, oh, one of those is wrong. And then bring those up, so you need them almost the same height. Then you go the opposite way. Ooh, The water's starting. How amazing.
Did you get wet?
No, I can just hear it. This is called really showing you the secrets of the trade secrets. Now, a lot of flowers are a lot stronger than people realise. And you can actually be quite tough on them. Oh, and I have to... Oops. I should have measured that out first. So again, you need to bring that up quite a bit. It's an amazing sound. The plants are all on drip feeders, so the water's going into the top of them and you can just gently hear it feeding its way through. It's kind of neat. And it's not raining outside, by the way. Now, when I saw this done in a photograph, it had been done with roses, which are a strong woody stem, and I'm doing it with something that's actually very soft. So this is a complete experiment, but hopefully one that works. And the hardest thing, obviously, is the threading of the pieces. Do one more and then I'll call it a day and we'll have a go at putting it together. It's something you really have to have patience with. But at certain times of the year, the Gerberas come in at really, really, really reasonable prices, and you can get them by the bunch at what I call silly money. So this is a way that you could enhance them and use quite a large number to really make it work for itself. Now, the hardest thing with this is going to be hence why all the wires had to be placed inside all of the pieces before we began.
And the key's just to be really gentle, isn't it, Lena?
It is. They're quite a soft stem flower and I really don't want to snap them off or bend them. Then you have to start crossing where your tie point will be and then curling it at the same time. And unfortunately I have to leave that long because that's going to be joining it, so you've almost got to start one way and then come back the other way. And at the moment it doesn't look like much, but I'm going to gently tie it a little bit so I can get it into the shape. So it's not the gerberas you want to bend, it's all the wires that you want to bend. Once a piece like this has been done, I like to do what I call rest it. So you just cut and stand it and leave it sitting somewhere quiet so that it can then recuperate from the manhandling that you've given it. Feed it back through. And then I'll retie this and then it can sit into a vase where it can recuperate. There we go. An effective design for just a very simple flower. And something I think if the more I did, you could get a lot better. I just think they're so pretty. This is the last experimental piece. It's something that I hope you'll all have a go. There's so many possibilities to it. It's a little bit hard and halfway through you think, oh, is it going to work? But it's worth it. If you don't try new techniques and new styles, you can't grow as a designer. So please have a go at all these pieces. There's 6 lessons here that you can have fun with and just absolutely enjoy your flowers. And if you're ever in Rotorua, please come and see me at my new store at 1197 Erueda Street in Rotorua.
I live in colour.
New Zealand.
The wheel.
The wheels.
Now you've seen what Nina has done with these amazing Gerberas, it really is only a small selection of what's available at Plenty Flora, which is just outside Rotorua. So you now have to meet the growers, who are Harold and Connie. Hi guys.
Hi.
How long have you been here?
We established Plenty Flora in 2002. So that's coming up 9 years in August.
So you're experts now?
Well, experts still learning, I would say, because we're learning every day. We're learning still from other growers as well, and we still try to improve ourselves.
Now, one thing about Gerberas is that they've always had soft stems. The genetics is now being bred so that they get much stiffer stems. Are you able to do that as well?
I'm not in the breeding itself.
So
It's
are you able to import those varieties?
yeah, we're looking at the different varieties both in Holland as well as in the catalogs, and they've got the different stem strengths, the different stem lengths in them, and we are really looking with the different varieties here. We are really looking for the best vase life and best quality in that sense.
When I had my Gerberas the other day from you for the flower show, I couldn't believe that they're still going, and it was 2 weeks later. How do you increase the vase life as a florist? You've just got them in from the courier. What do you do?
I think the main thing is treat them straight away. Don't leave them in the box in the shop or in a hot shop or whatever. Just treat them straight away, cut them off, cut them under an angle, and get it into water with some treatments and
flower food, things like that.
yeah, flower food, and that can be either granola or some flower food in it. Granola is more for disinfecting the water for the bacterial growth, because bacterial will just stop the uptake of the water, and so just disinfect the water is quite important. But some florists are really going into flower food, the chrysalis, and get more of the food into the petals as well.
And you've also got something really snazzy there that you, on your last trip back to the Netherlands, you discovered, which is really going to help the life of a Gerbera as well.
Yeah, this is the flower power trimmer, stem trimmer. And this is quite neat. It is well designed by some artists in, I think it's not in Holland, but in Germany. And so it lays well in the hand, and you can cut really the stem under an angle. I'm right-handed, sorry, I have to do the other way around. So you can cut it really like that, which means that you don't compress with secateurs, you will compress it on the side. And so you can make a long surface, so it means there's a lot more opportunity for uptake of the water through the stem, plus you don't damage the stem as such, and that makes it really a better proportion for the flower to be on the vase and stay longer on the vase or in the bouquet.
How long would you expect it then to last if it was in water?
The standard sizes are always saying for between 10 and 14 days. Depends a bit on the season as well, but the mini types are really going for 3 weeks, and still you can cut them up until really floating them in a bowl. And I had last week a lady saying, well, after 5 weeks they're still the same color, it's not fading in a bowl.
The bottom of the stem starts to get all sort of slushy. You just chop it and change it and put in a shorter stemmed arrangement and just keep chopping the stem up until it's
Yep,
stem
that's
length.
right. But keep clean water, clean vase. That's quite essential as well.
So
Because
5 weeks you can get 5 different designs out of one Gerberas.
definitely,
That's not bad, is it?
that's not bad at all. No,
Okay, now
that's
you
not-
also, you aren't just going to the flower markets with your Gerberas, so that people in New Zealand who are watching this DVD actually can order direct from you, is that right?
That's right.
Is
Yep.
there any minimum order?
We don't have a minimum order.
No, not really. I think it all depends on whether it's worth the freight costs.
Well, this is it, the freight's the same whether you order 1 or 100, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you freight all over New Zealand?
We freight all over New Zealand. Yeah.
And so how much time warning do you have to get if someone's got a big wedding coming up? How much warning do you want and things like that when someone wants to order from you direct?
Indeed, it depends on the numbers, but we say at least a week in advance is quite important for bigger numbers anyway. As you have to appreciate, we've got 80 varieties here, and they're all not in big quantities per variety. So if someone wants 100 flowers of the one variety, then we need a bit of notice for that.
Also, when you have 100 of the same variety, it doesn't look nearly as good as having 2 different sorts, does it? Even, slightly pink or slightly red, it actually makes the designs look better.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
All right, so just how do they find you?
They find us on our website,
Which is?
www.gerbera.co.nz.
Okay, and phone fax is on there as well?
That's right.
And also, can they find out what colours you've got on that site?
That's right. Yeah.
So they
All
can
the
order
colours.
actually off the website too?
Okay.
They can. It is. They can.
Yeah.
Yeah.